It's funny that when I started this series, I didn't think I would run into a roadblock so early. Here's the thing. Episode 1, while not the best, is a lot of fun with a lot to talk about, and the upcoming Episode 4 is one of my favorites of the entire series. But Episodes 2 and 3 are pretty insubstantial plot-wise, so I'll be going over the plot really quickly and instead focus on the character development that happens, since there is a lot of it. Depths of Fear is Episode 2, and takes place during a heat wave as the monkeys try to cool off in a local watering hole. Except there's no water. Until some seismic activity gives the team their water. We see them enjoying themselves until another quake hits, starting to flood the city. Here we see the robot split into its various pieces for the first time, not counting the intro. Antari, Gibson, and Sparks all have airborne vehicles, while Nova, Otto, and Shiro are on the ground with their tanks and cruisers. They save all the citizens, but not without Shiro being trapped in the subway. Shiro's fear of water stops him from being effective, but the team come to his rescue. We learn the city is built over water, and the foundation of the city has been messed up, not by earthquakes, but some kind of monster. As the city starts to crumble, we get to see the robot reform itself. Team minus Chiro investigate, but something attacks the team and destroys their jetpacks as Chiro loses communication.
Get away! Oh no! No!
Chiro tries to face his fears as we learn he cannot swim. But as he faces it, we learn why Chiro saw the face of Skeleton King earlier.
Skeleton King!
Wherever there is fear, you'll find me, boy. Now, you're outnumbered and alone, trapped. You should be afraid.
I won't let my fear stop me anymore!
Chiro conquers his fears and finds the team. Turns out this giant slug creature is the reason the city is being torn apart. As the team escapes the grasp of the creature, we learn it thrives on heat, which is why it positioned itself over an active underwater volcano. A monster that thrives on heat. Well, then of course logically you would want to cool it down, right?
So let's turn up the heat! Thunder Punch!
Chiro, you trigger an eruption!
Exactly! Follow my lead, team! Hyper Force, go!
The boy has lost his fears.
And his mind. Magna Tingler Blast!
Whirling the Shadowtons!
Boom, boom, wake up!
Double monkey attack!
This plan actually works though, as magma covers the creature and the water instantly cools said lava, having the tentacles of the creature become the new foundation of the city. Skeleton King isn't happy as the team celebrates in the water and everything is hunky-dory. This episode is good with an okay story and a lot of character depth I'll get into here in a bit. But for now, let's get into episode 3 of the series, Planetoid Q. The description here is going to be a lot shorter. Chiro is training with Antari on how to embrace the power of Primate, mainly focusing on how to choose the correct path in a crazy maze. The training gets interrupted when we learn a small planetoid is about to collide with Shugazoo. The team head out to stop it, learning that the planetoid named Q is actually alive. The team asks it to stop, but it says it must do what it must do and keeps on its course. From here we get example after example of the team using their instincts to go against conventional thinking. To much success, pounding home the example of stay on the path you're on that we learned earlier. Chiro then asks the team to do the same for him as we learn just why the planetoid wants to destroy Shugazoo.
My planet can't even talk! What did it ever do to you anyway?
I do not know your planet. He says I must destroy it.
You!
Chiro uses the power of Primate to show Q how to choose his own path, and all is right as Q betrays Skeleton King and becomes good.
He led us here. Now he wants his thing destroyed. Too late. Q's moving too fast to stop. There's nothing we can do.
Oh yeah, I'm forgetting the whole running into Shugazoo thing. That's okay, the team just gives Q a push so we can propel faster and just miss his target. We see Q transform into a monkey head, creepy, and fly away as we end the episode. Again, good mindless fun, but not much to talk about plot-wise. While these episodes don't do much for the overall story, it does give us a deep look into the characters and some of the points had made in the prologue. Going back to episode 2, Chihiro's character progression pretty much isn't that big, as we learn what we already knew in the first episode. Chihiro is well-meaning and tries to help, but at the same time is a bit too arrogant.
Hey! What took you so long?
I couldn't find my flippers.
I actually never realized just how cocky Chihiro is in the series. Chihiro does know when to cool it, as him reasoning with Q shows in episode 3 that he really does care for others. And Tari also remains the same as we saw earlier, this wax-on, wax-off type teacher who is a wealth of knowledge, but for those early episodes, we don't really get any deeper than that.
Embrace the power primate, and you'll discover the right path is often the one you're already on.
Skeleton King as well remains the same almighty powerful guy from the first episode, except that we learned in episode 2 that apparently this fight has been going on for quite a while, and yet Skeleton King can't seem to get control of Sugar Zoom.
Sugar Zoom City, the last stronghold of hope in the universe, yet defies me. All because of a child and some filthy monkeys. I've rained terror from the sky, launched waves of the vilest creatures.
Also of note, this is the only time we see Skeleton King make a funny face. Anyways, while our main protagonist, antagonist, and figurehead don't grow much, we learn a lot about our supporting cast. See, in episode 2, Chihiro wasn't the only one afraid of water.
Kid, it's okay. I know how you feel.
Sparks becomes a comforting agent for Chihiro in the beginning of the episode, as Sparks tries to cool off Chihiro and basically tell him, it's cool. Interesting to note as well that when the team does head underwater, Sparks is the first to try and stay behind using the excuse of watching the robot. But when Chihiro ends up with that spot, Sparks ends up going with the rest of the team, facing his fears and acting as an example to Chihiro that there isn't anything to be afraid of.
You cool?
Always. Just a little water. Nothing to be afraid of, right?
Right. Good luck, Sparks.
Who am I kidding? I don't want to be out here either. I mean, there's a reason monkeys live in trees.
Also, 2 more things before we move on to episode 3. First of all, Gibson can use his weapon as a water gun. Cool, huh? Like I said in the prologue, Gibson's weapon is the most versatile, and we see it in all its various uses throughout the series. Also, when the team is in peril and Chihiro is the only one who can save them, Sparks points out that apparently everyone knew that he was afraid of water. If that were the case, why would Otto say this about 10 minutes earlier?
Ooh, sounds really deep. Just think if we got stuck down here. I wonder if the fish would eat us.
Oh, that'll get Chihiro to get over his fear. Speaking of Otto and Gibson, actually, their relationship with each other is actually my favorite of the show. See, Gibson has a healthy relationship with the rest of the monkeys. Gibson and Antari are confidants with each other, always having each other's backs. Gibson and Sparks are rivals, always trying to one-up each other and occasionally angering each other, but for the most part still great pals. As for Gibson and Nova, well, there isn't much, actually. But, as I had stated earlier, although Gibson is classified as the smart one, and rightfully so, Otto is a lot smarter than he tends to let on, as we see in this part of the episode where Gibson explains how complex it would be to create a device to stop the planetoid.
Unfortunately, there's no time to build such a fantastically complicated device. Otto, what are you doing?
Finishing my graviton disruptor.
This scene perfectly illustrates their relationship. We assume Gibson is smarter, but using logic, he doesn't think anyone can build such an object so easily. Meanwhile, Otto flat out doesn't think. He just does. He does it almost at the instant Gibson begins explaining why it would not work, frustrating him when all his logic gets thrown out the window. This won't be the only example of this either. As for Nova, we show that she's ready to get into action at any point.
So let's find it so I can smash it and pound it and slam it and...
Nova.
But of course, at the same time, she really cares and worries about Chihiro when he goes off on his own.
Antari, are you sure? He's alone.
Wow, I got a lot more out of these 2 episodes than I thought, huh? In that case, let's see what happens when we cover one of my favorite episodes in the next installment.
Here goes nothing!
Well, that was certainly nothing. Now try pushing the right button.
Oops, thanks, Gibson.